Hello dude, this is Tombox here. In today's video we're going to be looking at the future of Yu-Gi-Oh! Which is going to be Lair of Darkness, the new structure deck. But I'm looking more particularly at the field spell Lair of Darkness because it opens up the ability to tribute off your opponent's monster. Kind of reminds me of Stormforth, and we all know how strong Stormforth actually is. On paper, it's good. And in practical use, it's also extremely good because Stormforth, non-targeting removal, you can't really block it with a chain, so overall it's going to be pretty nasty. So in this video, we're going to be talking about some of the options you can use with Lair of Darkness. Now before I get into this video, I'll also talk about the effect itself, and then at the end I'll probably talk about some counter options that you might want to consider when you play against this deck, because this is one type of card effect that you can't wait on, because the moment you start waiting, you will realize it's a bit too late. But let's read the card effect first. So it's a field spell. All face-up monsters on the field become dark. Once per turn, if you would tribute a monster to activate a card or effect, you can tribute one dark monster your opponent controls as if you controlled it. Once per turn during the end phase, special summon as many shadow tokens, level 3, the 1000, fiend types, dark as possible to determine player's field in defense position up to the number of monsters that were tributed this turn while it was face up. That seems pretty nasty already, especially when you're using your opponent's card to pay cost. Your big effects now your opponent's problem for the cost. You know, it's like taking their credit card and go swipe it with or whatever, and now they'll have to deal with it. Same idea. You never give someone a blank check, and this feels like that kind of deal, just like Stormforth. Well, let's go over several cards here that I've done the research for. These are some of the best cards you want to use, so you guys don't have to go look it up. There's some situational ones as well that I probably don't really want to talk about, but you know what? I'll go into some silly ones as well, and I'll go over some of the counter options. Now, first card that is basically bought out already, Share the Pain. Share the Pain has been bought out for the DT version and the super rare version. You can look it up right now. It's gone. They're all gone, and for good reason. With this card, you can basically get a 2-for-1 because you get 2 non-targeting removal, which is pretty nasty. Do you think people are actually going to main deck this card? Probably not. They might side it, and it's going to be a very difficult card to basically deal with, because the moment that field spell goes on and they activate the Share the Pain, you immediately lose the card because it's a cost. Immediately the cost happens. It's non-targeting too, so you're basically stuck losing a monster the moment it happens. Share the Pain, and then you have to tribute another monster you control because your opponent is forcing you to do so. It affects the player, so you're losing the card regardless. It doesn't matter if it's actually immune to anything, because it's not going to matter at that point. The second card is Enemy Controller. Basically, you get to steal your opponent's monster for free. So if you have a 2-card wall, just expect that your opponent can OTK you through the Enemy Controller, because they're going to take your card and then swing with it. And if they can push the remaining damage, you're basically done for. In other words, it's going to be a very, very difficult thing to do, especially if your opponent summons out something like a Denko Sekka and starts spamming other cards and then use this card to break your wall. Think about it this way. Enemy Controller, say you have an Odd Eyes Vortex Dragon and you have, I don't know, like an Electromite on the field or something really big like an Astrograph. They go ahead and just use an Enemy Controller, tribute off your Odd Eyes Vortex. Odd Eyes Vortex is no longer on the field, cannot activate, and therefore the monster gets taken anyway. That's how bad it is. Or you have a Decode Talker pointing to the Odd Eyes Vortex. Still, I can break this board because I'll get rid of your cost first so that you have nothing pointing to it, and I'll take your Decode Talker from there. Pretty nasty stuff. Now, for other spells that are very useful, now pairing this with Infernoids, we have ourselves the Monster Gate. Monster Gate, like Reasoning, of course, you get a ton of mill, but this time you can tribute off one of your opponent's monster to get yourself that Decatron. Once you get that Decatron, remember all the Infernoids do carry tributing effects to trigger other effects, I guess. And whether it be banishing stuff out of your graveyard or negating your spells and traps with the Onanku or Deviati effects, yeah, it doesn't look very good for you. Especially if they get themselves like a Tondo or some big beat stick right now, and they're gonna get a free hit on you too, because you're gonna be having a token on your side of the field and they can swing into it and therefore getting more board control. It's gonna be very interesting. Now, in terms of traps, there's several interesting traps that you can try out. One of them would be Soul Transition. Soul Transition, reading the card effect that Soul Transition made me think that it is actually pretty nasty if your opponent has one back row, no monsters on the field, and then they have Lair of Darkness. Be sure to get rid of that Lair of Darkness, because what's going to happen is, even if you start spamming out Special Summon Monster, remember, Soul Transition says that you can only activate this card if you control no Special Summon Monster. But since I don't control any monster, I can still get rid of your Special Summon Monster. So if you say you're using like a Spiral deck, or you decide to go, oh, I'm going to activate Super Agent or something like that, and it goes onto the field, it's about to pop off, say, the Lair of Darkness, they chain Soul Transition, send your agent to the graveyard, and then they proceed to draw 2 cards. Another fun thing to do would be, of course, the Virus package. That's probably what this deck is for. And speaking of the Virus package, I'm going to see a lot more people running Grinder Golem, because giving your opponent a 3k beat stick is absolutely okay. And they don't even need to bounce it back to their hand. Sure, we don't have Security Dragon right now. And can you imagine even if we did have Security Dragon and we decide to make a big like free Skull Dread play, and then we decide to like give you the Golem again, only for us to tribute it off of the Virus. Whether it be Epidemic Virus to just rip your hand of spells and traps, or whether it be the Grave Grinning Virus to well, blow up your entire monsters and with no effect. It is all very nasty, and thanks to Grinder Golem, it is very much possible. Now, another fun trap card to use would be Darklight. It's almost like, I guess, a special Hurricane, which destroys all special summon monsters. It requires you to tribute a 1500 or higher Dark monster, and basically all special summon monster that turn gets destroyed. It's like probably a more well-timed Dark Hole or Torrential Tribute. And you can use it at the right timing, because like a lot of people can dodge like, oh, if he torrentials me here, then I can do this. But this one you can be like, when you attack, I blow up all your stuff. Same deal. Or right before you go into the big guys, you can put them out. So yeah, there's Dark Light as well. Now, other fun combos that you can try with this, which I do not recommend, but there's of course Deco Talker, there's Icarus Attack, there is what is this, Shiranui style Swallow Slash, I think that's the card name. You can get tons of pluses, but it requires you to run like 3 cards, so it's technically not worth it. But if you use like DNA Surgery, convert everything to a Wing Beast or a Zombie, you can Icarus Attack using your opponent's card, blowing up 3 cards for 1, but technically with the DNA Surgery and the Field Spell, it's a 3 for 3. But the Shiranui one, on the other hand, you can actually blow up 4 cards with 1, but it's not worth it, in my opinion, because you have to be running Shiranuis. Unless you're already running zombies, there's no real point doing this. I think Infernoids probably has the best synergy with this particular field spell right now. But if you have a Decode Talker as well, it's kind of fun, because if your opponent's card is pointing to it while you have this field spell, you can actually tribute their stuff to get that negation. But it's only when the field spell is there. Now, in terms of counter options, immediately you should be running Mask of Restrict. Just don't let them tribute anything. Don't let them pay the cost. Done. You know what, just call it a day. Mic drop right there. The best way to actually stop them, although you're most likely still going to get hit by a virus, because if they're actually set up, it's actually too late. The virus is actually too quick. But the best way actually to deal with the field spell is to actually not let that field spell stay on the field. Once you get rid of it, they're basically out of threads. You can use set rotation if you use field spells yourself. Cosmic Cyclone, get rid of it. You just can't let that field spell stay. You are playing at such a big disadvantage if you leave that field spell face up, to the point that your turn is completely under your opponent's control. And if more cards get revealed that, hey, we have like a hand trap that has like a tributing cost, you're going to be paying that cost, and that is not going to be fun at all. So best way to actually deal with this field spell, get rid of it as soon as possible, because it is enabling far too many plays. And it gets to the point where I feel like the virus deck, the person playing the Lair of Darkness, is most likely going to use Metaverse to actually put the field spell onto the field while just having a bunch of set back row, and you're just not ready for this because it's uncalled for. You don't see it happening. It'll be on draw phase. They'll be like, oh, I'm going to activate this thing, putting the field spell onto the field. Until the card resolves, the field spell is still not available for you to pop, but once it resolves, everything is already live for them, and that's very difficult. Just empty it out, maybe even use Field Barrier to lock them out of the field spell if they're so dependent on that field spell, because all field spell decks have the weakness of not having it. One ruling to actually note right now that is a bit of a ruling concern is what if the monster is immune to spell cards? Can you actually still tribute that monster off? Are you affecting the player or are you affecting the monster? Now, monsters like Masterpiece that's spell immune, obviously you can't tribute it off because it's immune to the spell, which converts it to a dark monster, and Masterpiece by base is a light monster, so you can't tribute it off anyway. But in terms of what if there was a dark monster that was immune to spells, can you actually tribute that monster off? Because, you know, there's always that argument of whether or not it's a cost versus, you know, an effect. And since it's a cost, it doesn't really matter if it's immune. But then it's being affected by the field spell that's hitting it. Therefore, you shouldn't be able to target it anyway for a cost. Or it's not really targeting, man. I gotta be really careful with my wording here because it's actually quite crucial. You can't use that monster as a cost because it's not being affected by the Lair of Darkness. Therefore, you can hit off all the other. You can use the other monsters as cost except for that one. That's the stuff that probably needs a bit of clarity. But until then, you know, we can wait till the official ruling comes out for that specific card, and then we'll just deal with it later. But anyways, that's all I got for this video. If you guys enjoyed this video, hit me up with a thumbs up. If you guys want to see more stuff from MSD.TV, hit that subscribe button. I'm going to be working on being a bit more diligent and, you know, being, you know, more up to date with the rules for all the stuff coming up, because I know I've been a bit too lax on this stuff, and, you know, I got a wedding to worry about, guys, so, you know. So, you know, until next time, don't forget to hold on to MST.TV. Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you like this video, please drop us a like so we know we are doing a good job, and you can also subscribe to MST.TV for more fantastic videos by clicking on the button on the left. Don't forget to check out our partners at Imperium Duelist. They make really high quality mats, including some of my own limited edition release stuff. And if you want to check out one of our past videos, click here on the right. As always, don't forget to hold on to your MST.TV, and I'll see you next time.